Hello everyone, Jamarcus here, and I'm back with another draft analysis, another draft league, and this one is the DDL. It is a league of mostly people from SPDA, and there's a prize pool, so there's quite some competition. I know what I'm up against, so I've got to draft a pretty good team here. It's Paldex, 125 points, so a little more than I'm used to, and it's mid-tier Terra, so things like Hydrapple, I think Iron Leaves, um, Mian Shao, those are the best Terra captains, really. Hydrapple actually got drafted round one, so not by me. There's some good mods. I was 11th pick. There was a bunch of ideas I was toying around with, like Gouging Fire and Spectre and Iron Valiant. Of course, none of those made it to me as I was 11th, so I ended up going with my round two idea, which was Greninja. This guy was 16 points, so pretty cheap. I think it was quite the steal. Round one might be a little early for Gren, but I do think it's a top 20 mon easily. Um, Protean and Battlemon are both fantastic. Great coverage on this thing, physical and special. Sweeping potential, it can be a breaker, it can be hazard lead. Very versatile as a first pick. Fast pivot. If this thing's my fastest Pokemon, I'm fine with that. Um, I think it'll be a good mon. I know it'll be a good mon. I've used it before. There's quite a few repeat picks on this team, as you'll see, if you're familiar with my past teams. No Flamingo, though, I'm sorry. Next up, I wanted Garchomp, and I got Garchomp. It gives me more hazards, gives me another setup sweeper, gives me something to punish U-turns that Greninja really doesn't want to stay in on, which I think will be nice. Um, just give me some decent bulk because Greninja doesn't have much. It's Garchomp, you know what it does. Next up, I wanted Enamor's Incarnate, but it got taken. So instead I went to my round 4 pick, which was Terrapagos. It's a Pokemon I've used before. It's a Pokemon I've got 20 kills with in the regular season once. It's my all-time kill leader. I know this thing's good. It gives me strong hazard removal, gives me a special breaker, gives me a status spreader with toxic, gives me a spinner. I think I already said that. Gives me stealth rocks. Um, Very versatile, great coverage, even though you only really need Terra Starstorm plus something to hit the normal switch-ins, so like Earth Power or Dark Pulse. Can be a setup sweeper with Combined Rock Polish, Meteor Beam, my favorite move except Encore. Terrapagos is good. For my fourth pick, I wanted the good steel type. I wanted a rocker that I would like to bring rocks on because I don't want to waste these two. Click and Stealth Rock. I wanted knockoff, which I didn't have yet. So I picked up Metagross, another Pokemon I've used before, another Pokemon I've won a league with. It's fantastic, quite bulky, good typing. Again, can be a setup sweeper, it's versatile. I don't want to draft one-trick ponies. Sets up Stealth Rocks, clicks knockoff, pretty good. Physical breaker with heavy slam to help like a Garchomp sweep in the late game. Helps take those ice moves, freeze dry that Greninja and Garchomp don't want to take. No fighting resist yet is a little sketchy though. So that's what I get next. I wanted Enam, as I mentioned, and I wanted Ogerpon grass. That's just the teal one. Um, to help against ground types, which I'm also struggling against. So I get something, those both get taken if you can't tell where I'm going with this. Ogerpon was helping against ground types and bulky waters. Enam was helping against ground types. So I pick up Zapdos instead, which helps against those bulky waters and those ground types. Also gives me something else to punish U-turns, which is really nice. It's going to be very hard to click U-turn against my team. This gives me a special breaker, but also some great physical bulk, good physical defensive typing for ground types and fighting types, that sort of thing. Steel types even. Gives me a pivot. No hazard removal on this guy, of course. Um, he does get light screen. I don't think reflect though, no. But I think this thing will be fantastic. U-turn and volt switch. Helps spread some status in case I'm running like banded Metagross or something. That's Zapdos. Next up, I forget what I get. Hold on. How could I forget? My goat, Azu, wanted the fairy type. I didn't get Enam, so this was my backup, and I did manage to get it. Gives me some more priority, which is great. Now I have Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, and Water Shuriken. Another knockoff user as well is great. I lost that when I didn't get Ogre Pawn, so drafting Azu was really nice here. I probably would have taken Prima if it was available, but it was not. Azu does give me strong priority and a knockoff user, though. I don't think Belly Drum's great. No flip turn on this thing really sucks. That's the biggest thing Prima has over it, I think. Although clicking Moonblast is also pretty cool. This thing's pretty good. Used it before. Excited to use it again. Still no Terra Captain, and that's not going to change for this pick. I wanted something with some more speed. I have Gren as a fast Pokemon, but then Garchomp's my second fastest, not great. Zapdos probably not going to be running max speed most weeks, so something else in the base 100s would be nice. Also, I'm pretty fairy weak. I really just have Metagross to check them. The rest of my team does not appreciate switching into Moonblast. Also no grounded poison. Um, and I struggle to break steel types quite a bit. So I get Iron Moth, which covers all those bases really. It's fast, another special breaker, setup sweeper, helps against fairies, helps against steals, and gives me my grounded poison, so I don't need to worry about T-spikes, which I don't want like Chomp and Terapagos taking T-spikes. That would be terrible. And Azu. Another U-turner, which is nice. That's my third Pokemon with a pivot move. Um, should be pretty helpful. I've used it before. I know it's good. Um, Next Pokemon. Finally, I go for my Terra Captain. I'm ground weak. Um, I wanted Mienshao, so I would have a good Scarfer, which I think my team struggles with a bit so far. Nothing really loves running Choice Scarf. And Mienshao would give me another knockoff user and another pivot as well. But I get sniped on that. Although I was also considering Slitherwing, which is what I end up getting. So I get both of the Paradox Moths. This thing gives me a great ground resist. Gives me something with Wisp, which is the first Wisp user I have because Moth does not get it, unfortunately. Gives me Bulk Up. Gives me reliable recovery in Morning Sun. So this thing can definitely be a defensive Pokemon if I need it, especially with Terra. But I think setup sets with like Bulk Up, Morning Sun, and like two attacks, like Leech Life, Terra Blast, Fire or something. I think there's a lot of good sets I can run on this guy. Also, first impression, strong priority is very nice. I'm not gonna fall into the noob trap of running Terra Bug. That's not good. Um, but attack booster is also a great option on this guy. Is this new, specific to photosynthesis? I haven't seen that before. Do you have it too? You do. Cool. Um, as for Terra types, I go Terra Electric to help against the flying types that wall me. Terra Fire so that I can avoid getting wisped, because this thing's kind of just a sitting duck when it gets wisped, and also Terra Fire Flare Blitz can hit pretty hard. And then Terra Fairy last, just because it's a good typing that will help me set up on some things. Because Azu might not be a Pokemon I bring every week, and I still might want a Fairy type. And also Fighting plus Terra Fairy, uh, pretty good dual step. Maybe with Earthquake to help for the poison types. So I have 6 points left. I'm drafting very top heavy, as you can see. Everything I have is above 14 points besides Slitherwing here. So I have 6 points left. My plan was Sableye plus Hisui Avalugg with Terra. Um, Hisui and Avalugg with Terra is fantastic. It pretty much is a blanket check to every physical attacker ever. Right now, my team kind of loses to Gouging Fire outside of my Azu. Um, Although I can work around it with like Scarf Gran or something. Maybe Habanberry Chomp. And obviously Terapagos can beat anything with an asterisk. Um, but yeah, just Terra Avalugg would have helped a lot into those physical attackers. But I don't get Terra Avalugg, someone takes it instead. Terra Hisui Avalugg, that is. So Avalugg was still on the board, but I didn't actually take it because it was more points, and I really wanted Sableye. And I do end up picking this thing up. This gives me Prankster Screens, which I think is really nice. It's very cheap, and I think it does that pretty well. With the screen up, you're not OHKOing this thing unless you're like Specs Moonblast. It also gives me Prankster Status, which is really nice. Prankster Encore, so it can disrupt setup sweepers. For 4 points, I think this thing brings a lot of versatility to my team. And, well, I don't think my opponents are necessarily going to prep for it. Um, it can help me a lot not losing to a setup sweeper. with screens or encore or status, whatever. Not going to be sweeping with this thing, of course. Calm Mind, Recover, I'm not using that. But like Nightshade even, it gives me another knockoff user, Foul Play. There's some good options on this thing so it's not passive. No Toxic, I don't think, but Wisp and Thunderwave are plenty. Taunt's cool too. Last Pokemon, 2 points. I could Terra Sableye or this next Pokemon, but I don't think Sableye needs Terra, so I don't actually go with that. Hisuian Avalugg was the plan, as I mentioned. I don't get it, so I go with my absolute goat of Carbink. Terra Carbink, third time I'm drafting this guy, and I've never lost a game with this guy. I brought him to 6, I've won all 6. This thing is not versatile in the slightest. It gets Stealth Rocks up, it gets Spikes up, it Iron Defenses, it Body Presses. Maybe it'll run like Power Gem or Moonblast if I really need that coverage. It has Trick Room too, although I don't think my team really needs that unless I'm going like Metagross or Azu. Um, so it's nice to have Misty Explosion too if I want to do a lead set. Fun Pokemon. As for Terra types, I do Water, it's a good defensive typing. Ghost, good defensive typing, especially if I've used a Chesto Berry and now I can't be knocked off as strongly. And blocking is nice too. And then I also go Terra Poison to help for Toxic, and also just a good defensive typing, because my Poison type doesn't really love switching into moves all the time. That's Carbink, Sableye, Slitherwing, Moth, Azu, Zapdos, Metagross, Terrap, Garchomp, and Grant. I think it's a fairly sound team, defensively and offensively. Quite a bit of knockoff, quite a bit of priority. I got good hazard removal. I have switch-ins to every type. Little ground weak maybe, but I think that's manageable. I've got good speed tiers. Grant is my fastest. Iron Moth's pretty quick too, and then Garchomp, Zapdos, Terrap. The rest are a little slower, but I can definitely run speed on um, Metagross and Slitherwing from time to time. I got breakers, I've got sweepers. I think it's probably the best team I've ever drafted, which isn't that surprising because I have more points than I usually have, and the Pokemon are a little cheaper than I'm used to. 16-point Gren, 15-point Terrap, and 14-point Metagross were the big standouts there. I think Slitherwing is one of the best Terra captains in the league, so having something that's actually really strong is nice since I usually save my Terra captains for the end and I end up not getting something very good. But I do think Slitherwing will be quite good. Definitely not like a super scary top tier mon. Gren and Chomp are fairly strong, but nothing like a Gouging Fire or Dragapult on this team that my opponents really feel like they have to prep for. But maybe I can use that to my advantage. I think that'll do it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.